the listeners of Unlocking Your Truth, which is a radio show and podcast, and we live stream on CIVL from 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific time. And we also live stream on our Facebook page, the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, and my YouTube channel.
Yes, marvelous.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we have a different topic that we discuss. And this week we are talking about past lives. It's one of our most popular topics. I know that you're all very fascinated about the subject. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it. And then we're also going to do some past life readings on air for the listeners who are in the live chat rooms, which once again is in the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group and Dr. Leslie Phillips's YouTube channel.
Yes, it is.
We've talked about past lives a few times on the show, but you know what? There's always a different angle. But if you love the subject of past lives, go to drlesliephillips.com and put past lives in the search box. And I think that you will find several hours worth of on
to say the least.
And each one is each one is completely different. So we're not even saying the same thing each time. Which brings me to tonight's episode. And I was thinking, okay, what's another angle on this? And I've come up with a metaphor. So here's the metaphor. Imagine a Rubik's Cube. You all know what a Rubik's Cube is, right? Now imagine that you are the center square. And let's say you're the center square of the yellow face of the Rubik's Cube. And let's say all the other squares surrounding you are different lifetimes that you've lived. And because you're yellow and they are yellow, there's a match. You match. You resonate. You resonate with each other and you make a connection. Now let's say you change, something happens. You learn something and it changes your vibration, it changes your frequency. And instead of yellow, you become blue. Well, that Rubik's Cube is going to rearrange itself now so that you're surrounded by blue squares. Because the yellow squares no longer match your vibration because now you're blue, you're not yellow. But the blue squares do. And this is an analogy or a metaphor for teaching you a little bit about how your relationship with past lives and how a past life reading works. Because, you know, we use the term past lives. So keep in mind the Rubik's Cube. I'm going to explain it in a minute. We call them past lives, but a truth of reality is everything exists here and now. If everything exists here and now, how do you have past lives? And the truth is actually you don't. You don't. At the level of your multidimensional consciousness, you have other projections of consciousness, which from the reference point of the lifetime you are living here on earth, appear to be past lives because you are embedded in linear time and space. Okay. So back to the Rubik's Cube analogy. At different points in your life, at different moments, you are a match for different we'll call them past lives just because that's we're used to calling it. So you're a match for different past lives. So let's say I do a reading for you today and we get 3 past lives that come up. Those past, and let's say you're yellow in the Rubik's Cube in this metaphor, those past lives that come up will also be yellow, meaning that they resonate with who you are in this moment and where you are in this moment. So whatever you're going through in your life at this time, whatever challenges, whatever expansion, whatever growth, these lifetimes are little touch points that connect with you, and they connect with you because of the vibration you are right now. Then let's say you come for another past life reading 1 month from now. And in that 4 weeks, a lot has shifted in your life and in your consciousness. So now you're like the blue square. And so those yellow lifetimes that we read last time aren't relevant today. So we get 3 completely different past lives coming up, and those ones are resonating with who you are now and where you are now. So you, as a multi-dimensional being, have this vast catalogue, this vast library of experiences. And in a past life reading, we're making connections and tapping into that vast library. And we're bringing forward the ones that are most relevant to your situation and who you are. I also just want to expand your consciousness a little bit more about past lives, because think about your life now. How many moments have you lived? I dare say billions and billions, right? Because I don't know how many billions in a 20, 30, 40, 50 year lifespan, but it's a lot, isn't it? And then all those past lives also have those moments. So when we're reading a past life, in a past life reading, we're getting a vignette. We're getting a little story, a little piece of that past life. Maybe we see you in a time frame, a bit like a movie where a particular situation was happening, and that particular situation is mapping to a situation that you're going through in the current lifetime. Well, that lifetime that we're dipping into, there can be so many more things about that lifetime, okay? But what we home in on is the point of connection that resonates with you and who you are right here, right now. So I hope that makes sense to you all that's listening. It's almost like you are a multidimensional being, a bit like this Rubik's Cube, and you are constantly rearranging yourself. You're constantly shifting and changing your energy and changing, in a way, we could think of them as nodes or points of contact to other aspects of your multidimensional self, depending on who you are right here, right now, and the energy that you are putting out right here, right now. So, in a nutshell, past lives are really not past lives. They are more like parallel lives, but not even. Everything exists here and now. And everything that you are exists here and now. Your consciousness is embedded in a particular body personality, and that body personality has resonances with other aspects of your multidimensional consciousness, and they change. So if you come for a past life reading every year over a 20-year period, and you get to hear about 3 past lives in each reading, then you will get to hear most likely about 60 different past lives. Sometimes in a past life reading, if somebody comes more than once, we might touch upon the same lifetime a number of times, but rarely, because you are a dynamic that you are not the same from one moment to the next. You are constantly learning and growing. Every life experience that you have, every moment that you live, is a different frame in your consciousness that reflects an aspect of yourself back at you. And in that self-reflection, you learn, you expand, you grow, you shift, you change. And all of your what we call past lives are also all doing that. So it's like a giant Rubik's Cube of consciousness times a gazillion. It's this vast dance and tapestry of multidimensional consciousness. Ooh.
Well, I have a question. I have a question that somebody's brought up about not their personal question, but a question about what you're talking about.
Sure.
And it says, does it mean if I had an injury, it was a matching vibration to something from my past lives? And does it mean it has cleared something in my past life and current life?
Good question. So let's take the example of an injury in this life.
That's from Carol, by the way.
Yeah, and let's say that injury, let's say you injured your knee. And the reason you injured your knee was that you were coming up against some concepts around moving forward and the next steps in life. And you were a bit stuck. And so it developed to a knee injury. And then the knee injury forced you to pay attention. And so in paying attention, you realized, oh, it's because I'm afraid of the next steps and moving forward in my life. And let's say you did some energy work and you cleared it. That shift in consciousness that is occurring in this lifetime is available to all the other lifetimes, all the other existences throughout your entire conscious awareness. So everyone gets to have access to that. So the answer to that, the short answer to that is yes. But it's very difficult for us, isn't it, to get out of our linear time-space frame of reference. So that then becomes something that's available in the vastness of your consciousness. But at any moment in any lifetime, they may or may not be connecting with that, depending on where they're at. So there could be a moment in another lifetime where they are needing to experience stuckness, right? It's hard to explain without, in a way that takes us out of our time-space framework, but hopefully it helps point your consciousness in the direction of the concept that I am trying to convey. So pretty cool, very different take on past lives. But so we're all existing here and now, and we are evolving and expanding within that now moment. So every now moment is like a quantum jump, a quantum leap, right? Where you're actually jumping from one moment to another moment, from one pre-existing reality to another pre-existing reality. And it appears to you like you're traveling through time, but you're more like traveling through frames in a movie. And all frames in all, if each life is a movie, all frames and all possible scenarios of all frames are pre-existing in the vast field of consciousness. And then you, from your perspective, are making choices about which frame to jump into.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I kind of started moving off topic. The topic is past lives.
It's interesting. Sorry, it's interesting when I look at all the questions that come in, you know, from the website and everything, and they all have this sort of entertainment value questions, you know, like it's I mean, they're good questions, but most people want to know, what was I in a past life? What did I die of? Who was my wife? Stuff like that. And there's an understanding that we've had past lives, but I don't think the understanding of the past life and how it concurs with our life today, I think it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Murky understanding.
Yes,
For most people.
I agree. And I'll just say the reason I do this work is not to titillate, right? It's not to titillate and it's not to entertain. But the reason I do past life readings is to help you expand your consciousness, to help you transcend your challenges and help you move forward in your life. So while it's interesting, and I have had people, I've had Albert Einstein's reincarnation, I've had Charlie Chaplin's reincarnation, I've had Grace Kelly's reincarnation. I've had various people show up who were famous people in their past lives. Most of the time not, but even when they were, what's coming up is an opportunity to learn and expand consciousness. Okay. The other danger, the danger in, danger or risk, let's say you find out that you were, I don't know, Nikola Tesla, or you were the Queen of Sheba, or you were some other great person who really transformed our reality. The danger is that you hook your ego and you say, oh, yeah, I'm the great I am. Oh, look who I was. Oh, I must be somebody. When actual fact, that past life is not you. That past life is a distinct projection of consciousness from the same oversoul that you are. And so when we learn about past lives, we don't want to fall into that trap, because actually, and I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of past lives in the time that I've been doing this, and I can tell you, we have all been the baddie and the goodie. We've all been the benevolent one and the evil, wicked one. And we've all been every race, every religion, all of it, both genders, all sexualities. So past lives, learning about your past lives can be the great equalizer and help us all accept one another. Anyway, on that note, we're going to take a break for some messages and we will be back shortly. Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth. This week on Unlocking Your Truth, we are talking about past lives. And before we took that break, I was just saying how past lives, learning about your past lives, can be the great equalizer in society. Because if you can understand that you've been black, red, yellow, white, brown, male, female, gay, straight, Catholic, Muslim, Islam, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, Buddhist, and all of those things, you've been all of those things. If you can understand that, then you can look at your brothers and sisters on this planet and say, the God in me sees the God in you, or there for the grace of God go I. You can see that reflection. So in a way, everyone that's alive on the planet today is a mirror looking back at you. All of your past lives are mirrors looking back at you, and they are all part of the oneness of creation from the same ultimate divine source. So you've experienced so many things in your past lives. You've been so many things. So the man you judge today, because he's an evil despot, Well, maybe you were an evil despot at some point in your vast experience. And, you know, we can even go even beyond talking about past lives on Earth, because you all have incarnations on other planets as well. You're an eternal being, of course you do. And that's one of the things that's happening right now on our planet, is that we are beginning to wake up to those multidimensional levels, not just our past lives here, but who we've been on other worlds. And when we do that, then we can open up not just to the neighbor who's got a different skin color and the neighbor who's in a different religion, but the being that's coming from another planet. And that opens up a whole bunch of new things for human consciousness and the human species at that point. Anyway, I mean, I guess I could ramble on even more, but we also want to open up to our listeners who are in the chat room if anyone has any further questions or wants to dip into a past life.
Oh, I think there's a couple of questions. As a matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of questions. And they keep coming in.
I love the questions, because then they help shape the show as well, right?
Oh, definitely. But there are a lot of them, so let's get to those now. I've got my first one from you. This is a comment from Christine. She says, the info you've given me on the various past lives have helped so very much. It's interesting how certain lives come up depending on what's happening now.
Yes, and let me make a comment on Christina. I hope she doesn't mind. Christine's an artist, right? She's an artist. She's a really excellent artist, actually. And so when we were talking about who you're being now, you will get a point of reference in the past life that is relating to who you're being now. And so she has had many past lives also as artists, some of them famous artists, because they are all connecting into who she's being this lifetime. And it's been a fascinating journey with Christine as well, to open up all of those past lives and take that journey with her, and you know, watch how learning about them helps her in what she's doing. And inspiration comes in, right? So she's focusing on a particular type of art, and then one of her other lifetimes comes in and might drop in a little bit of inspiration that might help her go in a different direction, expand her work in a different way. So it can be highly beneficial. And so thanks for that comment, Chris.
So she's also asked, since we're on her, if you have any, would love any past life info.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Since we're there.
Well, we've got those magnificent men in their flying machines playing. Do you know that song? I can't sing it. I've got a rubbish singing voice, but those magnificent men in their flying machines. And a biplane, one of the very first planes, like a Wright brothers plane. And I know one of the touch points we have is Leonardo Da Vinci, and he had diagrams, didn't he, of flying machines. But this looks like a past life around the time that we were discovering air flight. And I feel that you were someone involved in designing aircraft, the very, very early aircraft. Male body, obviously, because at that time it was men that were doing that kind of thing. And I'm just watching you. You're standing in a field and you're watching a flight, you know, one of the first flights of an airplane that you've been involved in the design of. And what came up straight away when you said, can you read a past life for me, was that right now you're on the edge of expanding your consciousness. You're wanting to, it's like you could just almost feel it, like I'm about to open to something new. I'm about to expand into a level of consciousness or realization that I've not been to before. And so you're sharing this moment of inspiration when here I am, I was a draftsman, or it's, you know, I don't know what label you call him, and went from ideas and drawing out the plans, building the craft, and then it actually flying. And it's that transition point when an idea becomes this magnificent flying machine, this magnificent creation that is everything that you ever dreamed of. And so it's an inspirational past life coming up to encourage you to take the next step in your own destiny and your own creativity. So hopefully that resonates.
Probably. So this is from Shelby. Shelby says, so does it do any good to go into the Akashic records to heal or learn how to get into higher vibration?
So let's just say what the Akashic records are.
Okay.
So the Akashic records is a word that is used basically, you know, I was saying every single one of you has this huge library of consciousness. The Akashic record, your Akashic record, is the imprint on reality of every experience you have ever had in any lifetime you have ever had, past, present, future, as you might perceive them. And so the question, does it do any good? Let's answer the first part. Does it do any good to go into the Akashic record to learn how to heal? Yes, there are techniques that you can use. Let's say that if you want to access another lifetime where you were a great healer, where you had a lot of information about health and healing, there are techniques where you can connect directly with that other version of you and receive a download of information and bring that back into this body. And that's some of the work that I do with people around their past lives is exactly that. Okay, is to retrieve information that's been developed in another life that is relevant and useful to you in this life and go in and deliberately bring it in. I did that a lot when I was doing writing, and it's kind of quite fascinating as well because you discover some really cool past lives. I discovered that one of my past lives was Gaius Pliny the Elder, who was a Roman, actually died in the Pompeii disaster, but he wrote the world's first encyclopedia. So he was like one inspirational touch point for writing that I connected with. So yes, you can do that. And then to reach a higher vibration, well, that's really down to you. I mean, I guess what I just said might apply, that you could connect with one who has information about how to raise your vibration. But really, raising your vibration is about healing yourself. Actually, it's about healing yourself in this incarnation, in this body. But yeah, you can learn from your past lives, from wisdom from your past lives. Hopefully that answers your question, Shelby.
That is excellent. Just typing something here. Next question. It's from Lori. Excuse me. Lori says, I would like to know if my neurological issue is related to a past life or lives. Since then, I have a lot of stop energy. How do I move forward in my life?
I'd like to know what your neurological issues are, Laurie, because you may have told me about them before, but it's not in my consciousness. So is it neurological issues in the brain? Is it in the hands, the feet? Where is it? While you're writing that to Corey, I'll just take a look anyway. Yeah, I think I'd like the extra information. But what I want to say to you is it's related to this life. And the answer to that question you just asked, is this because of a past life? Whether there is a past life that connects into that, remember we were talking about the Rubik's Cube. So you know, when you get a past life reading, what comes up is past lives that resonate with the situation that you're in now. Well, you're still in the situation that you're in now. And that situation that you're in now relates to this life. Now you can connect into past lives and it can give you information that helps you, but it still is always to do with the current life. And that's why, you know, we can use the past lives to help us move forward in the current life. Let's see if a past life comes up that relates to neurological issues. There is a past life that's coming up that's relating to neurological issues. And it is, I would say, perhaps it's in the 1800s. It's in a male body. And it is somebody who's got twitches. See him doing this, he's got twitches. And he's kind of dirty, like he's covered in dust. It almost makes me think maybe he's a miner or someone who's got a dirty job. And it's because might not be mining, but maybe it's a chimney sweep, I don't know, but he's twitching. And so he's got a neurological issue. And at that time, people were just considered to be a bit simple and lesser than. And so they would be in the lower echelons of society. If people had there's a story about the British royal family had a couple of twins that had something wrong with them, and they kind of hid them. Oh no, we don't, you know, we around Queen Victoria's time, I think, you know, oh no, we don't, oh no. So I'm seeing that there's a lot of shame and invalidation around this particular past life. Feelings of being not good enough, not being accepted, not being acceptable, not being wanted, not being loved, being shunned, and not being understood. I'm seeing he wasn't necessarily simple, but I think he came to believe he was, because that's what everyone else reflected back at him, that there was something wrong with him. So maybe you can pick out things from what I just said there that might resonate with you in the current life, in the current situation.
She's giving you an update on that. She said, I'm in a permanent state of migraine and had whiplash, and the Brain Injury Society said that this is still a brain injury. I had 2 accidents. Okay,
let me look at that. I mean, I was seeing the brain come up when you first said it, but I wanted to check. Well, there is also something to do with the flow of energy that I think you've got in common with that past life. So remember, I was doing this kind of movement and it's sort of in, you know, the neck and the way the energy flows up the spine and into the head. So some kind of block in the Kundalini channel. It looks like you both experiencing a similar block in that energy flow. And that also relates to it's not okay to be myself. There's something wrong with me. It's not okay to be myself. All right, I think we should, as soon as there's lots of questions, we should probably move to another one.
Okay, well, it's actually time for a break. So we can go now.
Okay.
And that would work fine.
It sounds good. So let's have some messages and come back in a moment. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth. And if you're just joining us, let me tell you, we've got a fabulous episode tonight, and it's all about past lives. And we're in the part of the show where we really like to give back to our listeners. And so we're doing some past life readings this evening.
Yes. So this is from Katie. Katie says, I would love if you could tell me how my past lives and or karma has affected my relationships with others, especially with romantic partnerships. Do I have unresolved or repeating themes in this area or anything I have transcended?
Yeah, before I answer that question, let me just talk about this. So we've got this thing called karma, haven't we? Oh, have I got karma from a past? Oh, my life sucks. It must be karma from a past life. Really, ultimately, what karma is are you in alignment with your higher being or not? And so you can be out of alignment with your higher being through a series of past lives. Okay, so they've got that thread going through them. But at the end of the day, all you need to do is get into alignment. And you can get back into alignment in any moment. Okay, so in some senses, we don't need to go delving into past lives, although we can, and sometimes that can help us make the shift. Anyway, let's take a look at Katie's question about relationships and past lives. And well, I am getting a past life to look at, but I'm also getting something else to say to you, which is to say, all unresolved issues that appear to be in relationships are unresolved issues within yourself, right? So you can look out here and go, you know, why is that person like this? Or why is that person like that? But ultimately, there's something there that's relating to you. So let's see what the past life comes up. Husband and wife, possibly Victorian times or a bit earlier, you're the woman. And the man is sitting at a table, reading his newspaper, expecting to be served. And he's disinterested, and he's just interested in what he's doing. And you're trying to be light and lovely and feminine and nice and cheerful, and he's being gruff and distant and invalidating and not giving you his attention. So you are feeling like what you want is love and attention, and you have the programming, I guess, that it should be coming from that person, and it's not, and that makes you feel driving you nutty. But it's also teaching you something, which is the same that I just said, that if you are in alignment with your higher being and you are connected to the flow of divine source and love that is who you really are, you don't need external validation. It doesn't matter what else is going on in your reality. So it's like learning to hold that. It's learning to love. I mean, it's that old chestnut. Learn to love yourself first. But it's completely true. If you love yourself, then you're in alignment. And if you can hold that alignment long enough, then your reality shifts to match it. So unresolved issues in relationships, ultimately, it all comes down to, do you love yourself? Are you in alignment with your higher being? And in a way, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Okay. From Brian. Brian says, Dr. Leslie, can you tell me of any relevant lifetimes which relate to where I'm at in this moment? It sounds like we've lived all of our lifetimes already, including this current one, and we're just moving our consciousness around in them to learn and grow. I heard recently that the soul actually plans for every possible decision and a personality could make in a lifetime. The multiverse theories, being the multiverse theories.
Yeah, every possible moment that you could possibly live already exists, and you travel through and make different choices, and that each choice you make in each millisecond delivers you to a different version of reality. Okay, Brian, I mean, obviously we're just going to do one reading, one past life per person. So we'll see which one comes up. Well, there's a lifetime coming up. Believe it or not, you're a milkmaid. A milkmaid, somewhere like Switzerland. You know, they've got that wooden thing over their shoulders and they carry the pails of milk. And you're sort of, I'm seeing you, that's what you're doing. And you're feeling like a beast of burden. And you're looking at the cows and the different farm animals with this idea of the beasts of burden. It looks like you've got a biblical narrative going on as well. So, but it's like the beasts of burden, and feeling that you are a beast of burden amongst other beasts of burden. So let's see why. Yeah, and it's funny. I think you study the Bible. I think you're in like a heavy Christian belief system, because it's also like this suffering of Christ, you know, and Christ carries his own cross and things like that. And then this dream of one day in the future, some form of redemption, you know, where, I don't know, your suffering will be cleansed from you, something. And so what I see from that, it's like the future projection in your mind of the future is that one day, far off in the distance, at some point, life will be good, or there will be relief. And I'm seeing that that's the concept here is, it's kind of like, if you keep doing that, you'll never get there because you're always projecting it as a future time thing, instead of just going, well, all I need to do is shift my vibration now, and that will, again, Rubik's Cube of reality, rearrange reality around me so that I can feel good now. So that's the lifetime that comes up. And I trust that there is a lesson in there for you, present time Brian, from the milkmaid who felt like a struggling beast of burden that was hoping for deliverance at some point in the future, instead of realizing by changing her energy now that she could have it now.
This is from Prasad. Prasad says, Dr. Leslie, may I ask you, and I thank you, you told me about two of my past lives and more lives in the past you foresee.
So they're asking for a past life reading.
Yes.
Okay, one past life. Let's take a look, Prasad. Okay, this past life's about 40% down your past life timeline. And I feel like it's in Mongolia, and you're in a male body, and you are, what would you call it, a Mongolian tribesman? You know, living in yurts, riding on horses. I guess, not exactly Genghis Khan, but so that general idea of you as a Mongolian man. So let's see what I can see about you. It looks like it's a challenging life. I don't even know what the weather is like in Mongolia, but I get the idea that it's harsh. I mean, maybe it can be cold there, but there's this feeling of harsh conditions, and then, you know, going into the tent and trying to get warm, and almost never feeling like you get a break. And or you go to take a break, and then there's always someone else who says, well, we've got to talk about this now. And it's like, oh, can't I just have my cup of tea and get warm and not have to think or talk about anything? So it looks like you are somebody that people go to for advice and guidance. It looks like you're a senior tribes person, and the younger ones, it looks like they sometimes, in effect, need your permission to do things sometimes. And so it's like the burden of that, the burden of being the one who has to decide things or tell people they can or can't do things. And how does that relate? Why are you bringing that particular thing up? It looks like there's some stuff about responsibility for others, and that you might, maybe you're working on freedom from responsibility for others. But it looks like there's some very embedded beliefs about being responsible for others, so that almost you might not even get what I'm just saying to you. The only one that you are responsible for is yourself. Unless you have a little baby that can't survive on its own, you're just responsible for you, and you have everything that you need to direct the course of your own life. And everyone else has got everything they need to direct the course of their own life too. So when we take responsibility for somebody else, it's like saying, well, you poor thing, you're completely incapable. Let me do it for you. It's disempowering. Okay. But it looks like you've got some programming, maybe some family or cultural programming about, no, we all have to be responsible for each other. But that can be so burdensome, carrying all of that big backpack of responsibility for everybody else. It's like then you barely get to live your own life. So that's what's coming up for you.
Very good. Brian just replied, yes, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you. The suffering has been a theme in getting to some future point where things are better, the same thing. I will mull this over, so much to take in. Yes, I only want the most relevant lifetime, not multiple. The one is enough to really challenge me. Okay. And so this is from SG. She says, do I have a past life as a piano player? I feel a connection to pianos. And also, do me and my friend Kay have a past life together that affects this one?
Okay. So
but you can just do one because we're running out of time.
Yeah, piano player, yes. And it actually looks to me wartime, like 1940s female, typically hair, dress, typical of the time. It feels like it's somewhere like Vienna, Austria, and you're a young, maybe a woman in her 30s as I'm looking at you, and there's a little boy and you are playing the piano and singing to him. So yes, you do. And I guess Vienna is a city that's very well known for music, isn't it? But it feels like I said, it's around wartime, and it looks like, I mean, this is going beyond the question really, but anyway, it looks like you went through some of the experiences of the war. Is that the last question then, Corey?
We have two more short ones.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so this is from Peter. Peter says, "Hi, Leslie. My life has gone through a big shift at work, mandated out. A new job landed in my lap. I just wondered if my past lives are playing a role in the new paths in front of me."
Oh, very cool. And hello, Peter. Let's see. And again, it's that Rubik's Cube of life that I keep talking about. You're learning how resourceful and creative you are. You know, it seemed like a terrible thing when you thought you were going to be mandated out of your job. And now here you are. You've managed to create something new. And so, I mean, what you're showing me is actually, it feels like a past life as an adventurer. You're showing me this big river, and the river has tributaries. And in exploring the river, having to make decisions about which tributary or which branch of the river. And yeah, I don't know what, either an explorer or somebody who's traveling down the river when, I think it's North America, maybe it's even Canada, but it's like, you know, when there were like little settlements along the river and not a lot else, and making the right choice and ending up at the settlement that you meant to arrive at. So I think it's a validation of your connection with your own higher being, following your intuition, following what feels right for you and being rewarded because of it. So that's the past life that comes up as a reflection for the current situation. So I think we've got one more.
Yep, we have one more from Shane. And Shane says, "Hi, Dr. Leslie. What's next for me in this lifetime? I'm exhausted with life, primarily with work life, just going in between jobs in the past 8 months after I left my place after 18 years.
That's a future time question, isn't
Yes.
it? Let's take a look at the energy.
Yes. Don't forget to give us a like, folks.
I'll just look at your growth cycle, Shane. But what you're showing me is, it does feel like a period of recovery. You're showing me, you know, I use a symbol of a rose to look at the growth cycle, and the center of your rose is orange. And the outside is like an old coat that you're taking off and that you're letting go of. And it's sort of like the moving forward is dependent on the recovery from what you've just been through. And the moving forward in a way is dependent on the letting go of the old stuff. And so I'm seeing this, if I sort of wind forward a little bit on that energy, as this old clothes, this old cloak drops away, then more of this, the orange becomes deeper and richer and more energy floods in, and you become more refreshed and more energized, and you it's like the spark of creativity and passion returns. But it does feel like you're in a recovery phase right now. And that one of the things is about being kind to yourself and allowing yourself the time and space to not just rebalance, but refresh and renew. Who am I now? You know, who do I choose to be in this next phase of my life? And really that decision is down to you to discover yourself. But I am seeing this creative energy pouring in to help you with that. Okay.
That's all, folks.
That
Thank you, and see you next week.
That was a reading extravaganza.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.